All right, traders, happy Monday. Welcome to a AAA session. This is Ask an Analyst here with Chris Pulver and joined by Tyson Crick. We are happy to be with everybody today. Let's go ahead and get some AV confirmed. It is Monday the 23rd. The chat should be live. Tyson, if you can do me a favor and just kind of monitor that chat for me, I'll do the same thing. So we are live, and I'm going to type that in the chat right now. If you're out there, type in a Y or yes. If you're tuned in and listening in, we got some traders in. Say hi, say hello. Happy Thanksgiving week, everybody. And off we go. All right, let me bring up the setup here. So switch back over to Tyson. All right, man, we are good. Perfect. So say hi, Tyson. You're live.
Hi there, everybody. Tyson Crick here.
All right, nice to be with everybody today. Hey, Denise, how are you? Hey, Jim. So Tyson, we have an interesting week ahead. As you know, it's a shortened holiday week. So what's Thanksgiving like in Europe and Portugal, where you're at? What are you going to be doing this week?
We are pretty much in lockdown at the moment. Over the holidays as well as the weekends, there is a curfew at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So we'll most probably be at home. We'll do something in the morning, but we'll spend the day at home just with our immediate family.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was important this week that we're part of the solution, not the problem. So we have no family coming into town. We're not traveling anywhere. We're just gonna order like a little single Thanksgiving platter for the house and just lay low. And I think that's just for right now. It is what it is. There's always the good thing is there's Skype, there's Google, there's Zoom, there's ways to connect and stay close to friends and family even virtually like we've been doing for the last 6 months. So it's really not that different other than, I think it's important that just be part of the solution. I mean, let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We know that coronavirus cases have continued to climb like crazy. Daily deaths and cases across most of the U.S. and the world. I mean, I know where you're at in Europe. The lockdowns are way more severe than they are here. Certain states are putting in curfews. Gyms are closing, casinos are closing, theaters are closing. So anything that would be bringing together people in larger groups, that's all being suspended. So it's just, I don't know. Americans just have a funny way of being selfish and think like, oh, this affects me, and I don't know. But I say, just be safe. Wear a mask. And we've got a vaccine coming hopefully in the next couple months, and we'll worry about the logistics. But let's focus on the markets. So before we started the session today, and everyone out there, so Jason's here, DPS, Claude, Faz, Jenny, nice to see everybody. So Tian and I were talking ahead of this. With this week's trading, there are open markets. Like the Forex market is open all week. So just understand that even though it is Thanksgiving and the U.S. banks are closed on Thursday, the markets are going to be open. So that being said, what do we expect to see for holiday trading this week? So, Tian, do you have any currency pairs that you want to take a look at today that we can share with everybody in particular directions or outlooks? So, what do you have for this week that you're really liking?
Well, something that's really standing out for me at the moment is due to the fact that the US dollar basket or the US dollar itself is expected to continue to weaken. The US dollar Canadian pair is getting ready for a breakout to the downside, bearish continuation. And the reason I'm saying that is because West Texas Intermediate oil is bouncing against resistance at around about $42 a barrel. And if we're going to see a break to the upside, then that will create more strength in the Canadian dollar. And already we are seeing the US dollar weakening. So that will force the market to the downside.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for. I don't know if we'll see it, but it's definitely something that's got my attention. I've been waiting for that break. If there is a break, I've been waiting for that break for quite some time.
Okay, so are you looking at that's interesting because we have stared at oil for several months now, just very quiet, very low volume, not really going anywhere. If I type in U.S. oil here on the charts, this should be pretty straightforward for traders to see that we are seeing a lot of slow movement on oil. Now, what's interesting is you had mentioned to the upside. So what, in your view, has to be the break? Are you looking at this level kind of right in here? If price gets above, $43 and change, $44?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Above that will force more strengthening of the Canadian dollar. And while the direction of Iron's probability is bearish on the dollar index itself, I think it's a good trade because we are also consolidating on the dollar Canadian. We are 50 pips away, more or less, from the consolidation support. And if it breaks that consolidation support in the dollar Canadian itself, it looks like we'll head south an additional 300 pips.
Yeah, I like it. So that really important level on the dollar CAD at 3,000. So you're talking about 2,700. Is that kind of your target for dollar CAD?
Yeah, I'll give you the exact target that
Yeah, let's
I
take a look.
have. Let me just check here on my. That is going to be at just below 127 figure. I think 127 figure is a good target. The actual to the pip price target is 2676.
2676. Okay.
Yeah, correct. I see we are about 90 pips away from that crucial 1.3 figure level. In the event that level is broken to the downside, then we've got about 300 pips until we hit that target.
Yeah.
If I was already short in the dollar Canadian, then I would watch the market at that support at 1.3, maybe lock in profits in case we bounce there. But it's all up to oil. If oil continues higher, that support's more than likely going to be broken to the downside.
Sure, I agree. So it's interesting. Let me see if I want to make sure that my little drawing tool is working here. Hopefully it is. Maybe it is. It should be working. So if we break below 1.30, heading down towards that 126.76 figure, let's call it 127. Do you see the dollar CAD? I know that they're not necessarily correlated, but do you see the dollar CAD moving similar to the dollar yen? You mentioned before we started the session, the yen basket is kind of looking different to you. As far as where we're looking at the overall markets to be poised to go slightly higher, does the yen basket, in your opinion, support this? Do you think that the yen's going to get weaker to allow the stock market, indices to go higher?
I think over time, but at this point in time, there is a conflict. I'm seeing signals that the yen could actually strengthen in the medium term.
Okay.
I've got a target on the US dollar Japanese yen. I'll tell you now where that target is.
Okay.
It looks like this one could fall more than about 400 pips. I've got a target at 99.10 on the US dollar yen weekly. 99.10.
99.10. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So you see
99.10.
that drifting. I mean, 100 has always kind of been like this really protected barrier on the yen.
Yeah. I've got an intermediate target at 101.36, which is the Fibonacci 127 of the daily chart.
Okay.
The market could bounce against 101.36 and retrace a bit, but ultimately it looks like we are going to break that level to the downside. In my opinion, we've seen a 9-year bull trend on the US dollar broken to the downside. I do expect the US dollar itself as a basket to continue waving down to the downside over time. That will create the US dollar yen to obviously move lower.
Yeah.
But if you look at the yen basket, I don't see any substantial evidence that the yen basket is going to weaken.
Right. Okay. So let's take a quick peek. So you can see my screen, Tian. So let's just go through the yen basket for traders really quickly. So let's go Aussie yen and kind of work our way alphabetically. Aussie yen. So I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I think that the yens are going to be as confused as the stock market. So if we don't see really any major breakouts in the stock market, I'm not really looking at major breakouts and follow through on the yen crosses. So Aussie yen, for example, after we had this, flashy move, 2 flash crashes in a row from March to April, our bottom forming, the V bottom in the stock market, recovery's back up, but the Aussie yen has not retaken out the highs. It has not taken out any lows. It looks right now, I mean, if I was just looking at recent levels, I'm not even talking about big forecasts here, that level is something that the bulls can go after, right here around 78.30. If we come back into this, actually is where I thought the correction to the downside would come back, which we did do a pretty good job of coming back towards. To the pip, we were a little bit off. We found this bottom back in late October. This was kind of the week leading up to the election, but it was right in this area that I thought we would find some really solid support. We also had a nice little pocket around the 71.90 area or 7200. So I think that there is some trading opportunities inside of this. I'd say in the near term, I mean, kind of stuck right in between. This is kind of a 50-50 trade. It could go up, it could go down. And I'm not really sure. I mean, if we're looking at the S&P is sideways and the Dow Jones is sideways and the NASDAQ is sideways and in these larger ranges, I mean, I think that ultimately they have to break out bullish or bearish for the yen to show some kind of sentiment-based mood or sentiment-based move. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. If we see the market slowly moving bullish towards round about to go and test that most recent high at a 77 figure,
Uh-huh.
then I will consider a sell with my target 73 figure. That's
Okay.
quite a psychological level of support. Also forms a confluence with the Fibonacci level, so that is my sell target at the moment.
Okay.
I am just waiting for an entry point in Aussie yen.
Got it. So you are looking for a bearish move on the Aussie yen right now.
I am.
Okay.
I don't think I can get in with a sell now. I just want to see it test those previous highs, and then I'll most probably jump in with a sell.
Nice. I like that. I know that there's we've been looking at some harmonic patterns in my trading room for the last week or so. We've had some really good ones on New Zealand Swiss, New Zealand yen, Aussie yen. I believe Euro yen as well has a weekly harmonic. So there's a lot of actually bearish structure out there for those larger patterns. So I like this one. Just for me, I wish that it was sitting here at resistance, and I can say kind of without a doubt that we're definitely looking to short it at better levels. But currently, I could see us coming back to test this high, or coming back to test those highs like you said, and then look for a chance to short it from there, which looks really good. Okay, I like it. Let's go on to the next one for the basket. Let's go CAD yen. Anything on CAD yen you see? I just see a ton of structure here with just a lot of support resistance. What do you see?
Well, at this point in time, you have the yen potentially strengthening. And if oil breaks that crucial $42, $43 a barrel level of resistance, you could see both of these currencies in this pair actually strengthening.
Yeah.
And that would just cause it to continue to consolidate. I do not have, I've got conflicting signals over the larger timeframes. The overall directional bias probability is bearish. But on the lower timeframes, like a daily chart, it's actually bullish. It could go and test that consolidation resistance again.
Sure.
So, and even if it tests that, I wouldn't know if it is going to continue or if it's going to bounce bearishly. So I'm reluctant to jump into the Canadian yen.
Okay.
But from a larger time frame perspective, yes, it could fall. It could fall. I just don't know how far it is going to move up before it comes down again.
Right.
We
Yeah,
need more movement for that.
I wonder if the markets are going to set up something where we have. So let's just take this CAD yen for example. If you had this bigger target to the downside, it almost makes sense if the market wanted to find a way to push up towards resistance first, test these highs, see who's interested in trying to buy it. I've been watching this pocket as well. All the way back into early 2020. This is our March slide off of COVID. So when we had this pocket created, I wouldn't be surprised if that was where the market somehow finds a way to test to the upside, and then a much bigger move to the downside comes from there. So I mean,
Yeah.
as far as an upward move in oil, where do you see oil actually going? I don't see oil going dramatically higher than maybe $50, maybe $60 because we were there before. But I think that oil medium term, I just don't really believe that oil can go that much higher than maybe $50-$60. What are your thoughts on that?
$55 a barrel is a psychological level of resistance.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it will move higher than that. On the bigger picture on oil, if you maybe open up a weekly chart,
Yeah.
there is a bearish head and shoulders pattern. And the market has now come back to test the neckline of that head and shoulders. You see that's a head and shoulders with a neckline there on your chart.
Bullish. You're
The
saying
market,
bullish?
a bearish head and shoulders pattern. So on the left side of your screen, if you draw a horizontal line
Okay.
across those lows there.
Yes. Oh, I see. Yeah, right here. Right there.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's the neckline of the head and shoulders that was broken to the downside. The market came back, is now testing it. But as we all know with the head and shoulders, that neckline is not an exact science. By the way, this one's hit the target of the head and shoulders.
Yes. I was going to say that's a fulfilled head and shoulders, and the way I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it could move above that neckline resistance, and after that come back down again. So That's not etched in stone.
Yeah. And you know what, that's really incredible, because as dramatic as that sell-off was to get us down into, negative territory briefly for oil. I mean, look at that. That is your head and shoulders measurement, right? You have your,
Yeah.
left shoulder, head to neckline, right shoulder, neckline breaks all during the crisis. Technicals drive it. They fulfill the pattern. I mean, that flash crash move was fulfilling and completing, and here we are retracing back. So, I mean, that's that. Again, even as wild and crazy as oil's movement was, that projected move got. I mean, that was looking at a head and shoulders to push oil into $8. It's crazy how it got there, because obviously we went into negative territory there briefly for a day, but how it's been repriced and pushed back into this very low, choppy. I mean, we have not seen much follow through outside of insane amounts of volatility in March, insane amounts of recovery in April, and then since then you just look at all of this trading since June, like May and June. I mean, there hasn't been any substantial movement on oil at all, other than a couple months of really really exciting, crazy movement, and then it's pretty much leveled off.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nuts. So it's interesting. So I mean, I think that we can agree that $43 is a critical spot. I mean, if $43 can break, then that gives oil, I think, room to recover. And we're talking about, this is the $50 level, previous lows right over here. I think that's an achievable spot. You said $55, Tiana, is that right? As a
Yeah.
psychological number?
Yeah.
Okay, so about $55. I see a nice little pocket up here as well, around 57. So yeah, I mean, right in there, we could see oil jump around between a couple levels. I'll go ahead and drag this support level over here. So here's a thought. If traders are out there paying attention to oil, watching the dollar CAD, if we have oil breaking above $44, look for this to go towards $50. And if oil breaks above 44, Tion, do you think that break above 44 would essentially be the equivalent of the dollar CAD breaking below 3,000?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm waiting for.
Okay. And the dollar CAD heads, 3,000 or lower, heads into that 2,700 level that you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think that's a good trade for traders to watch. Yeah. Um, yeah. Biden fracking, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Is it really? I mean, are we going to kill our energy that the U.S. has done? Probably not. I mean, I don't think all of a sudden we have a ban on fracking. I think that do we just, maybe take it off of federal land, and I don't look this whole thing about transferring over to a Biden administration. It still comes with just a whole mess right now. In fact, before we started the session live, Tian and I were talking about the electoral college, and what is the reason that the market is stalling? What's the reason that we're looking at all this hesitation? And it's perhaps because the December 14th electoral vote is maybe keeping everything on the sidelines for right now. So we mentioned kind of three things, Tian, right? We had COVID cases right now and lockdowns happening across the country or across the world once again. Whether they're as strict as they were in March and April, or as strict or more strict, depends on the area. But we're still seeing lockdown measures and curfews and things that are changing right now. And again, it's for safety's sake. At the same time that we have this, coronavirus kind of climbing, and we are kind of regressing as far as just recovering, we also have optimism on the COVID vaccines. So we have Pfizer, we have Moderna. Those are 94, 95% effective. We have AstraZeneca that came out today with 70+% effective, which if this was 3 weeks ago, that would have been good news. But it's kind of not up to the bar that, Pfizer and Moderna set this last couple of weeks with, the 90+% effectiveness. So logistically, it's still going to be very difficult. But I think that's I've called this the catch-22, where we have cases going crazy, lockdowns back in place, curfews back in place, things are changing business-wise, but COVID optimism is kind of offsetting. So bad news in cases, good news in vaccines. It's kind of the market's just fine with it. It's not really reacting one side or the other. So that does give us the wild card of, will this U.S. election drama continue to play out through December, and then December 14th, will the market actually make a move? Now, I think this is important to talk about today, and I know I'm long-winded here, but it's important to talk about today because we're in a holiday week right now. And I mean, if we take a look at our calendars, right, like this is our final week of trading for the month of November, and it's going to be a shortened holiday week. We go into next week, and it's officially December. So I think that if traders are paying attention now until the end of the year, we tend to see what we call holiday markets. And, Tian, you said earlier that holiday markets tend to be slower. There tends to be, less movement. And I agree. I think that this is also a time where you don't want to fight a breakout. Okay, so like Tian said, dollar CAD. If that dollar CAD breaks below 1.30, I believe that that clean breakout below 130 is going to find its way down to 127, maybe 126, maybe 125. It has room to go. If the dollar yen, let's bring up dollar yen, Tian, and I'll give you a chance to talk here.
No,
if we
sure.
go if we go dollar yen, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with the dollar yen and why we keep defending this 104 level. I mean, obviously there's support, but we can't really make these permanent breaks below 104, even though it seems to, I mean, to you, you're looking at a target that's below 100. It would make sense to me that below 104, we're going to fall, towards 101.50. That's at least where the March low was from this year. So we keep dancing around this kind of magical support resistance level. And here's what I talked about in actually my weekly outlook today. Um, and I want your thoughts on this, Tian. Do you think that the dollar yen could play out something like this? We have a low here, we have a higher low, we have a high here, we could form a lower high. And so I'm looking at kind of this, election, post-election volatility and post-election indecision that is going to ultimately force the dollar yen to have to go somewhere else. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. And the path of least resistance is to the downside to that level at around about 101.50.
Yeah.
And the triangle that you've drawn there maybe would have a target at that level, but that's also a Fibonacci 127 extension.
Okay.
So that's my target for a sell. And once we hit that level at 101.50, the market could retrace sharply.
Yep.
And potentially break that down channel to the upside.
Yep.
Retrace a bit, and then ultimately come back
Yep.
to below 100.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny you say that because this is what I've been prepping traders for on the dollar yen for months. Because personally, right now, I don't really have a big plan on the dollar yen because it's not following through. We did take shorts during the election below 104, had some robot trades get us like 40 to 50 pips to the downside. And then we had our post election gap higher. We had the big move in the stock market, but it's faded all the way back down. I've been prepping traders for this. I think that the dollar yen can do the following. If we and let's just say that let's say that's the structure. Let's say that we make, another convincing break to the downside and we work our way down to this 101 level. Now, this 101 level, I could see this, Tian. I could see this coming all the way back up here towards 105. I could see this coming all the way back up here towards
Yeah.
109. And perhaps, and this might be crazy, all the way back up here towards 111. And this might be the same thing that the yen did here. We do it all over again, and that all gets faded all the way back down longer term.
Correct. Once I've taken profit on a sell at 101.50, I'll start selling it at around about 106 figure.
Okay. Are you think you want to level into that then? If you start selling it at 106, you're going to start looking at like a bigger position, or are you going to say, 106 and try to look for some stops that are a little bit tighter? What do you think?
I'm actually going to trade with a wide stop.
Okay.
That's going to be above 110.
Above 110. Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, all my stops will be above 110.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I like it. If so, personally, I don't like to level into yen pairs. Obviously, that's no different than any other trade. I mean, just use the right trade size and you can accommodate that risk. But I would say, Tian's like that. He likes that 110 figure. I mean, I love this level here, Tian. I love this 109 level for resistance. I love this 111 level for resistance. And here's what I would ideally like to see. If let's say that we fill this, 101.50 level, we make this big rally to the upside. If it does it, and hopefully traders are going to hear me mention the word pockets quite a bit. It looks like just a big obvious inefficiency. If the market does it, let me go ahead and draw this. So let's say that we make this, fall to the downside, and then we have this just ridiculous rally, and it just looks so bullish and so extreme that move, just like we had back in this area, when you have these really aggressive moves, you're going to have typically the opposite happen. And this happened back in 2019 with pound crosses, right? We had aggressive moves from May to August of last year, September, October. All of that bearishness that pound pairs had was recovered in full. We had it this year in March, all these aggressive moves on the Aussie, all the aggressive moves on the New Zealand, all the aggressive moves on the yen pairs and the dollar pairs. They all came back and refilled. We saw the same thing in the pound crosses in September. Big move in September to the weakness side, and then as they realized that Brexit was not going to be a hard Brexit, the pound recovered. So, I mean, I look at it as the market doesn't like to get too overstretched, too inefficient without balancing. But just be ready for something like this. I mean, this is the weirdness that the yen can do. We can have like
Yeah,
boring,
absolutely.
boring, boring yen trading, and then all of a sudden it can be like the thing you're trying to chase, and it could be this amazing move. So I think there's a
Yeah.
bigger trade coming on the yen pairs, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really patient on it right now. I think this thing has to
For
prove
the
that it's going
record,
to
my
fall.
target is 99.
Hmm.
If I can sell it at 106, I'm happy.
Yeah,
Anything higher than that, what a pleasure.
yeah,
Target 99 figure.
like it. Yeah. So let me
Yeah.
ask you this. If you were able to sell it from 109 or 110 or 106 and it goes down to 100, are you going to be determined to get it down to 99?
Most probably not.
Yeah. I mean, if I was in the shorts and it's getting to 100 and we know that's psychological, parity essentially for the dollar yen, I think I'm going to be taking profit
Yeah.
or at
I'm
least moving
always
stop
concerned
losses.
about the Bank of Japan intervening,
Yeah, sure, sure,
selling the
sure.
dollar yen.
Yeah. Speaking of intervening, how about this? Let's talk about this pair. I've got some traders in with me on this one, the Euro Swiss. I'm long on the Euro Swiss. I don't know if you have an outlook on this one. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one. Gary Tyson, I've talked about this one many times. I've got a bullish target at 110 and 110.50 on this one. Have you been following this one at all or not really?
Yeah. Long term. I'm not fond of trading the Euro Swiss,
Okay.
but long term probability is bearish,
Okay.
and the market is now hitting its resistance. If you just put an additional horizontal line a little bit lower,
Yep.
testing the previous low and resistance, there, it's hitting that resistance at the moment.
Sure.
Um, let me just have a look here quickly. I'll give you exactly where that is. Because it was consolidating and then it broke the consolidation range to the downside. So if you zoom in a bit on that chart,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there we go. And just before that cluster of consolidation broke the downtrend line to the left, more to the left.
Okay. Here?
There, no, a little bit. Yes, there.
Yeah.
Roundabout there was consolidation. If
Yep.
you can visualize that, and then just extend that consolidation box up to the current price. There we go.
Yeah.
You see that the market broke that consolidation range to the downside,
Yep.
but then moved right back into the consolidation at the moment.
Yeah.
So if it tests any highs, that would present opportunities to be going short. But it's a difficult one. If I had to make a call on the Euro Swiss, I would absolutely look for sell trades at high prices.
Sure. That's good because you can have your sell high prices as long as I get my sell high profits. I'm just so you know, I'm long and I had traders, this is a trade that I kind of mapped out way ahead of time. I had a falling wedge. I was long in there, took a lot of profit when it came back to structure here. I got long again on this falling wedge, took some profit in here. I keep adding to trades at 107.50 and 10700, taking profit above 108. I've had 4 trades in here that I've just scalped from 107.50 to 10800, 107.50 to 10800. So there is a yearly target, yearly pivot at 110.45. Just so happens to be right up here. So I'm looking at this as a 1, 2, all this is kind of inside that corrective phase, and I'm looking for some type of 3-wave move. So this is 1, 2 is corrective, 3 is the additional push to get it into this 110.50, and then Tion, you can have your short all you want, man. So
Thank
maybe
you.
I'm asking for the market to do too much, but with a yearly pivot, and this is a pair that Michael says this is my least favorite currency pair. Look, it is very difficult to see the two separate. We see that if you look at a currency strength chart every single day, it's basically the same thing. The euro and the Swiss are equally strong, equally weak, and this is the type of price action we're getting. It's very difficult to see the euro gain strength or the Swiss be very weak. Now, for me, that's what I need. I need like either the Swiss franc to get very soft all of a sudden and the euro to be stable, or I need, the euro just to get really strong and have the Swiss stay stable or get weaker. But it's very difficult to see them stretch too far apart. Almost like it's like they're glued together. I mean, it's like if you have your hands glued together and they're going to come back, like you're pulling them apart, but they come back. It's like any type of separation these currency pairs give us, they come right back together. So, I mean, even post-election, this was a radical kind of one-day move from 106.70 to 108.20. That's a 150 pip move, and we haven't done anything for the last like 10 days. So it is a bit of a snooze currency pair for right now. But here's what I'm hoping for. Again, this is doing some higher time frame stuff, but the fact that we have, this crown pattern that's fulfilled, a fifth wave move that's fulfilled, we're getting on the right hand side of the trend line. This is all I'm looking for. If this is simply a correction, like so, if I just had like this movement here, pulling back, this is forming that low, we have one more push to the upside, we could go 5 waves as well. And then I see Tian being, kind of right on the bigger time frame. But hopefully we'll just kind of maintain this corrective structure and see if it plays out. I have a yearly target. I've traded targets on this thing, heavily since 2014, 2015, 2016. I know that some traders hate trading the Swiss pairs, maybe because they got stung on the Swiss National Bank stuff in 2015. But it still behaves. It's still technical. I just don't love that they're just really stuck together. And so what we're noticing is dollar yen is also getting stuck together quite a bit. Same thing with the euro Swiss. So I'm sure there are other currency pairs that are better out there, but I want to get Tian's opinion on euro Swiss to see where he's at, and I will say that I agree. Sell it at higher prices, but like I said, I hope that higher price is up here at 110 plus. So I've got some big profits coming. All right, Tian, any other last ones here? I want to kind of keep it on time today. Usually when it's Gary, Tyson, and I, we go for like 45 minutes. Any other favorites for the week? We've got holiday trading. We've got some indecision in the stock market. I'm watching the volatility index really closely. What do you like currency pair wise this week? You said dollar CAD. You've got a longer term move on the dollar yen. What else you like in this week?
Aussie NZD short to 104 figure.
104 figure. Okay. Perfect. This actually, I think this also makes a lot of sense because I did a little sneak peek video today about holiday trading, and this is a perfect example to kind of tie all this stuff up. So holiday trading tends to give traders a drift. It tends to give a low volume move, but it's not worth fighting. I think Tian's right. I don't think we're going to see a bottom forming on this Aussie New Zealand right now. And if you talk about that 104 figure, that 104 figure is right down in here. And this essentially comes back into some of these balance points from April. So do you have is it a fib level that you're getting to, Tian, or what brings you to 104?
Yeah, you can start the fibs at that previous significant high, that highest significant turning point. There.
Yep.
That's
okay,
the,
and that's the 618 right there.
Yeah, correct.
Perfect. So that was
We're
a 5-0.
currently heading
We're at
from
the
the steep to the
127.
D there.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. So awesome. So Tian, again, we're having a little trade-off here. I will give you your short to 104, but I'm going to buy this thing at 105. I'm going to buy it at 104. I'm going to buy it at 103, and I'm looking to get this thing back up into 108, which is right
for the
here.
right tip of that bearish ground.
Yep. So I'm looking at this area and this area. There's a nice little pocket around 108. I did the same thing back here where traders were with me. We kind of took a trip to the loony bin as this all played out, but we got paid big time on that trade there. Got paid on that follow through. Did the same thing in 2019. So the fact that this one to me has left me a little clue towards 108. I'm looking to take these trades where I'm going to start buying really small and really low. I've got a wide stop on this one, and we're going after 108. Any thoughts on this Aussie New Zealand on the longer term, Tian? I know that we've talked about this one before, kind of in our team, between Tad and you and Gary and I and Tyson. Any thoughts on this one longer term? Do you really think that this one's going to find a way to get below the parity mark, or do you see this dancing around between the major support resistance levels? What do you think?
Well, currently, if I look at the bigger picture, I've got a target at 91 figure, which is way below parity. Sure. I don't know if we're going to go and hit that level.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see substantial strength from New Zealand.
Yep.
Lots of inflation. Inflation CPI is above target. it looks like the New Zealand, I mean, the New Zealand dollar basket is pretty hot right now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because they're the one central bank that really has not changed rates. The RBA cut rates to 0.10, the RBNZ is holding at 0.25. They are willing to cut rates. They are not above going into 0% or negative territory. But one thing that I continue to watch on the New Zealand and the RBNZ, I know that there is some news this week. RBNZ Governor Orr speaking on the financial stability report, I believe on Tuesday night. That's like 9 p.m. Eastern time. One thing I tend to watch really closely on the New Zealand is the New Zealand dollar, and I think that the New Zealand dollar is headed back towards this area. So, Tian, I think that we're going to see a hot Kiwi until probably around 7,200.
Oh yes,
Yeah, and
it's
and
more than
possibly
likely.
higher. I mean, this could come back to equal highs, but I think 72 is going to be a gettable level for the New Zealand U.S. dollar.
Yeah, I've got a target at. Um, I don't think it's going to go to that level in a straight line,
No, I think we should. I mean, we
but
would hopefully get some type of pullback here, like a
I've
little
got a target
indecision
at
today, pull
72.
back, look to buy, pull back, look to buy. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be buying it at 72. I think we are in for a substantial retracement, which will be purely driven by US dollar strength.
Okay.
That we're going to see a bit of a pullback in the dollar. And that would cause the NZD USD to come down to around about 64.
Okay. Well, that's a
And
big
then
one.
once it hits 64, I'm going to start looking for buy trades all the way up to 72.
Yeah. You know what? I like that. I think if I gave that a little bit more of a buffer, I would say between 64 right in here, this 64 level, like you said, and 62. I'd be looking to buy
No,
the
fair
Kiwi.
enough.
Yeah.
It could even move. Yes, 62 is actually that previous level of past resistance
Yep.
becoming future support.
Right in there.
Yeah, and it happened to be the 618 retracement of the upfibs if you draw it from that lower significant turning point, which is a nice confluence of support as well. I
Okay.
just don't know if it will have the legs to go and hit that, but it's also on my radar.
Yep. I
Yeah.
see that right there. Okay. Nice. All right, so let's do a little recap today. So let's give Tian a chance here to summarize. So what are you liking this week, Tian? What are you looking at? So some of these aren't, like, hey, Tian's taking trades for this week. I mean, these are some big areas we're talking about. But Tian's picks, you love the dollar CAD, yes?
Yeah, dollar CAD sell, Aussie NZD sell. Dollar CAD is definitely a hot one. Aussie NZD, I am currently short, and my target is
You
there
said
we go.
104
My
on the
target
Aussie
is
NZD.
104.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. 104. I'm also short. Well, I'm long NZD Swiss. I'm long NZD NZD. Just hold on a second. Yeah, I'm short Euro NZD, and I am long NZD Yen. So I expect the New Zealand dollar basket to continue to strengthen. I just hope that we could see another 120, 130 pips drop on the Aussie NZD before Thursday. It would be nice to take profit and go and have a nice
Yeah. Little holiday bonus.
long weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I might find myself in a position where I am. I did this last year too. I was weathering a bit of a drawdown in the Aussie New Zealand, and as we turn the corner into 2020, that drawdown just kind of stayed stable. Had the big move down in March, and so it got a little bit bigger, but it came back in full force and just I mean I crushed the Aussie New Zealand this year on that recovery. So I still like the technicals to the upside towards 108 again. I think range wise from parity to 114, I think that's two really key levels that currency pair can continue to operate within. But I agree. Like right now, the RBNZ is being very quiet. And when they're quiet, that's interpreted as stable. They're not making any radical cuts. They're not doing anything dovish like other banks are right now. So I think right now they tend to see the path of least resistance. And this kind of all comes full circle to holiday trading is the path of least resistance. Aussie New Zealand's already made a decent break below 106, heading down into 105. It's probably going to drift down into that 104 handle. So right now, if you want to be looking for near-term opportunities, Aussie New Zealand looks great to the downside. Dollar CAD, watch that critical 1.30 level. If it breaks below, I think it's a clean break towards 127 or lower. New Zealand basket, you can look at Euro New Zealand. I think has room to get down to 6,800. We still have to kind of get through the 7,000 handle, but Yeah, I mean, it's just New Zealand has some trend potential. It's already shown the case the last couple of weeks. Dollar pairs probably having some range tendencies. Yen pairs until the stock market breaks. I'm watching that really closely. So I think it's going to be a quiet week for me, Tian. I know that my robots are going to do some trading for me. My perfect storm tends to make me a few hundred pips for the week. I don't have to do much with that other than just let it trade. Um, Anything else on your end? I mean, these are the basket is great for the Kiwi, but Aussie, New Zealand, dollar, yen, dollar, CAD, those are awesome setups. Anything else that you're liking for this week? Anything else you want traders to walk away with today?
It's only the dollar CAD and the Aussie NZD, and keep an eye on the New Zealand dollar basket. I think that's
Okay,
pretty hot right now.
cool. Okay, that's it. Traders, if you have any questions for us, now's the time. You get about 10 seconds. Any last words? We've gone a little bit long today, but hopefully enjoyed our AAA session. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, smash that like button for us, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. This session is live every Monday. This is going to be a rotating schedule now. So Tian and I hosted today. Next week it might be Tyson and Gary. It might be Tyson and Tad. It might be Tad and myself. We're going to rotate it around where we get everybody a chance to talk about what they're liking for the week and what system strategies we are using. Okay. So, yep, there you go, Jason. Jason's our biggest fan out there, saying smash that like button. Tian, thanks for being with us today, man. I know it's later in your part of the world in Portugal, but we'll talk this week. Have a great week. Have a
It was
great
a pleasure.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for being with us, and thanks for joining us, everybody in AAA. We'll see you next week. All right, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.